Ever wondered what actually happens to your brain when you sleep? Not just the dreams, not just the blackness, but the quiet symphony unfolding beneath your skull. Every night, without fanfare, your brain begins a strange and beautiful ritual. One that scientists are still trying to understand. One that heals you, cleans you, changes you, and you don't even notice. Tonight, we're going on a journey through the sleeping brain. From the first quiet flickers of drowsiness, to the pulsing storms of REM sleep, to the final soft reset that helps you wake feeling, sometimes, like someone new. But first, take a breath. Let your body grow heavier. Let the room fade. Maybe there's a hum in the distance. Maybe your pillow is just right beneath your cheek. Let those things hold you. If you feel your thoughts wandering, that's okay. You don't need to hold onto anything here. And if you'd like, feel free to comment where you're listening from and what time it is there. It's always a comfort to know how far and wide we drift together. Now, sleep isn't just rest. It's not silence. It's a slow, deep orchestra. And it begins with a single note. A brainwave slowing down. It begins gently, like the lowering of a curtain at dusk, like a tide pulling away from the shore. As you lie in the quiet, your body might seem still, but inside your head, everything is shifting. The brain, always humming with activity, is now tuning itself to a softer frequency. When you're awake, talking, working, thinking, your brain runs on beta waves. These are fast, sharp pulses of electricity, beating through your neurons like a flickering light. Focused, alert, wired. But sleep doesn't come with a switch. It comes like fog. Soft, layered, subtle. As your eyes grow heavy, those beta waves begin to slow. Your thoughts blur at the edges, and your brain enters a quieter rhythm, called alpha waves. Alpha feels like daydreaming, like the moment just before you drift off, when you're half here, half elsewhere. You might feel a floating sensation. You might hear your name whispered from nowhere. You might not remember where your body ends and the air begins. And then, as alpha deepens, theta waves arrive. Theta is where sleep truly begins. These waves are slower, gentler, rolling through the brain like distant thunder in a quiet valley. In this moment, you are no longer fully awake, but not quite deeply asleep. Your muscles may twitch. A memory may flash like a candle in the dark. Some people feel like they're falling. A sudden jolt, a spark of panic, called a hypnic jerk. It's the brain asking, are we sure it's time to let go? It's a strange threshold, a space between worlds. Your heart rate begins to drop. Your eyelids flutter. Your breath, once automatic, becomes slower, deeper, more rhythmic. Outside, the night might stretch quietly across rooftops. A breeze moves the curtains. The world goes on. But inside, the brain is preparing for something sacred. A descent, a ceremony that begins anew each night. And while all this is happening, you are not steering. You are not choosing. The brain is doing it for you. Because it knows. Because it has done this for thousands of nights. Since before you could speak. Since before you could remember. It slows you down so it can begin its secret work. Not to turn off, but to go deeper. Soon it will enter the first official stage of sleep. A place where the outside world fades and the inner world begins to shift. But for now, you are between breath and dream, between light and dark, between beta and theta, and your brain is humming its quiet lullaby. Let it. You've crossed the edge now, drifted beyond the twilight border of wakefulness. The world feels far away. The weight of your body grows softer, as if gravity is slowly being replaced by something even gentler. This is stage 1 of sleep, the lightest layer. Your body has not yet surrendered, but your mind no longer commands the wheel. Your muscles are relaxed, yet not paralyzed. Sounds may still reach you, but they echo as if through water. You are floating, not quite in the room anymore, not quite anywhere at all. The brain's thalamus, which normally acts like a gatekeeper, is beginning to close its doors. By day, it lets in the world. Sights, sounds, sensations. But now it's pulling the curtains shut, whispering to your senses, "Hush, not now." Electrical patterns in your brain change. Neurons no longer fire in erratic bursts. Instead, they begin a slow, synchronized dance. It's like the chaos of a crowd falling into a rhythm, like rain becoming music. This stage lasts only a few minutes, but it is precious. The doorway to all that comes after. You might not even know you're asleep yet, but your brain does. It's already working. It's scanning the day's memories, sorting the relevant from the forgettable, tagging thoughts with invisible. Low ink. Save this. Toss that. Maybe later. Some scientists believe this is when the brain begins its first sweep of emotional housekeeping. A moment from the day, a look, a word, a fleeting embarrassment might surface without warning, like a leaf floating upward, before it sinks again. And still, you fall deeper. The heart beats a little slower. The body cools. Muscle tone eases like fabric unwinding. If anyone looked at you, you would seem peacefully unaware. But inside, your brain is adjusting the lights, pulling back activity, shifting power from motion and language to memory and repair. It is not silence. It is orchestration. You are not gone. You are not lost. You are simply stepping into the soft corridors of sleep. And in a moment, you'll descend again to stage 2, where strange bursts of light spark silently through your neurons, where the brain practices memory, where the mind begins to truly let go. But for now, you are safe. You are held. You are drifting. And sleep has only just begun. Now, you're deeper, not just floating above the waves, but gently being pulled beneath them. This is stage 2 of sleep. Still light, still reachable, but steadier now, more quiet. If someone were to call your name, You might not hear it, or if you did, it would feel like part of a dream. Here, the outside world fades further. The breath slows even more. Your body temperature dips. Muscles go slack. The heart whispers, barely louder than the rhythm of your breaths. And your brain, it begins to sparkle, not in brightness, but in pattern. Inside your skull, tiny bursts of activity erupt. Quick flickers called sleep spindles. They appear suddenly, like fireflies on a summer night. Fast, rhythmic pulses that last for just a second or two. And then, like the fireflies, they're gone. Scientists believe these spindles help protect you from waking. Imagine them as little shields, softly blocking sound, touch, light, filtering out the world, so your sleep can deepen. They also play another role. They guide your memories. They trace the outlines of what you've learned, turning fragments of thought into threads that stay woven by morning. Somewhere in this moment, a face you saw today is being remembered. A word you read, a pattern you practiced. Your brain is softly repeating it all, without your awareness, without your permission. Sleep is not an escape. It is a rehearsal. And between the sleep spindles, another guardian rises. The K complex. It's larger, slower, a single wave that rises and falls, like a stone dropped in a pond. The K complex is the brain's gentle gatekeeper. It listens for danger, then hushes the mind if all is well. Someone walking past your window. K complex. A shift in the mattress. K complex. It hears, but it does not wake. It simply says, not important. Go deeper. You are already halfway through the night's first cycle, and the brain is preparing for the most essential phase to come. In just minutes, your neurons will enter their slowest rhythm yet. A low, rolling drumbeat. Delta waves. That's where healing begins. Where your body restores itself. Where forgotten memories sleep. And the subconscious begins to stir. But for now, let your mind stay here. In this quiet corridor. The room is quiet. Your breath is slow. And inside you, the spindles are dancing. The gates are closed. The world is distant. And the descent continues. You are far from the surface now. The edges of thought have dissolved. The air around you feels thicker somehow, like drifting slowly through warm water. This is deep sleep. Stage 3, also known as slow wave sleep. And it is the most mysterious, most essential part of every night's journey. Your breathing is deep and steady. Your muscles have softened into stillness. Your limbs are heavy, yet you feel weightless. From the outside, you look motionless, peaceful, as if paused. But inside your skull, the brain is humming with purpose. Not fast, not bright, but steady, low, rhythmic, like the slow tolling of a distant bell, like rain dripping onto stone. These are delta waves, the slowest electrical patterns your brain can produce. Measured in hertz, they tick like ancient clocks, barely more than one full wave each second. It is here, in this deepest layer, that the body begins its quiet repairs. Tissues heal, bones strengthen, the immune system recalibrates. Hormones like growth hormone surge softly through your bloodstream, telling cells to mend, to rebuild, to grow. And the brain begins a kind of spring cleaning. It flushes out waste, not with brooms or brushes, but with a secret river that flows only when you sleep. The glymphatic system, hidden among your brain cells, is a system of tiny tunnels, lined with glial cells, the helpers of the nervous system. During deep sleep, these glial cells shrink, opening up space for cerebrospinal fluid to rush in and wash the brain, like waves rinsing a stone floor, like wind brushing sand from a map. This fluid carries away toxins, waste proteins, microscopic debris that builds up while you are awake. One of those proteins is called beta amyloid, a sticky fragment linked to memory loss and Alzheimer's disease. Without deep sleep, these fragments begin to linger, accumulate, clog the channels of thought. But tonight, your mind is being cleaned, rinsed gently from within, restored in silence. No sound, no effort, just slow waves, fluid rivers, and darkness. This stage of sleep is also where your most vivid memories are etched into permanence. Long-term storage, a moment from your childhood, a fact you learned today, a face you hope to remember. Here in the calm of delta sleep, those traces are strengthened, not as data, but as living maps, the kind you don't read with your eyes, but feel with something deeper. This stage doesn't last long, only a few minutes in the first cycle, longer in the next, then shorter again as morning nears. But each time, it leaves a mark, like the press of a gentle hand on a fogged window. And then, slowly, your brain begins to rise again, not toward waking, but toward something stranger, more active, more surreal. It is almost time for dreams. But first, the rivers must finish their work. The waves must roll a little longer, and your mind must remain still. Imagine a city, not one of stone and glass, but of neurons, pulsing, breathing, electric. By day, the city is bright, noisy, overrun with movement and thought. But at night, when the lights dim, when deep sleep arrives, the streets begin to clear, and something ancient stirs beneath them. A silent system, invisible, patient, the glymphatic system, a cleansing river, hidden inside your brain. It doesn't run all the time, only when you sleep, and only during your deepest rest. The slow wave sleep where delta waves rise, and the world above falls silent. Here, your brain becomes a kind of sponge. It swells and softens, its cells drawing inward, not in fear, but in welcome. This shrinking of cells opens passageways, tiny corridors between the neurons, where fluid can flow. Not blood, not lymph, but something lighter, cerebrospinal fluid. It moves with grace, with rhythm, pulsing in time with your breath, with your heartbeat, with the hush of night. The fluid enters through the base of the brain, and from there, it seeps upward, across the cortex, through the folds of memory, down into the valleys of instinct and sleep. It collects debris, microscopic waste left behind by thought, fragments of broken proteins, stray molecules from a long day of focus, metabolic dust, all swept away by this clear and gentle tide. Among the waste, one name stands out: beta amyloid, a sticky protein, one that, in high amounts, can clump together and choke the connections between brain cells. In people with Alzheimer's disease, these clumps form hard plaques that disrupt memory, emotion, identity. But tonight, in your sleep, your brain is defending itself, cleaning itself, preserving the bridges between who you were, who you are, and who you're becoming. It doesn't need permission. It doesn't need your help. All it needs is rest. And so, as you lie here, still and unaware, this sacred river flows down quiet tunnels, across neural fields, past childhood memories and passing thoughts. Every drop is purpose, every ripple healing. By morning, the glymphatic flow will stop. The brain cells will swell again. The doors will close. The fluid will slow to a whisper. But until then, you are drifting in a state of deep cellular peace. The rivers are still running. The world is being washed. And you are safe inside yourself. Soon the cleansing will give way to fire, to flashes of color, to fragments of story, stitched together by emotion and memory. Dreams are coming, but not yet. Tonight, the brain is clean. Beneath the hush of deep sleep, your brain becomes a gardener. It walks slowly through the groves of memory, past the branches of the day, past the tangle of thoughts still fresh and green, and it begins to choose what to keep, what to trim, what to let go. This is neural pruning, a silent act of care, a maintenance that happens without sound, without pain, without even your awareness. Your neurons, those tree-like cells that carry thought, are always growing, always reaching. Each one touches thousands of others, making tiny electrical handshakes called synapses. By the end of a single day, you've made thousands of new ones, tiny traces of what you saw, heard, felt, feared, hoped, but not all of them are needed. Not all will last. Sleep is when the brain decides. It walks through the forest of your thoughts with a quiet lantern, gently clipping excess branches. This pruning makes SB. It clears the way for strong memories to take root, for clear thinking, for learning, like trimming a bonsai, like sweeping a studio before morning light. As this happens, another process begins: memory consolidation. Imagine a row of notebooks, some pages smudged, some half-written, some torn. The brain reads them one by one and slowly rewrites them in ink, carefully, neatly, binding them into a shelf you can reach later. Not all memories are saved, only the important ones, emotional ones, new skills, words you learned, movements your body practiced, a face glimpsed in a crowd, a scent that reminded you of childhood, an idea that sparked curiosity. These are stitched gently into place. And what isn't needed is let go. This is why sleep is so strange. You forget some things by morning and remember others more clearly than before. Your brain isn't failing you. It's curating, organizing, making you lighter by letting go of what you don't need. This too is healing. In 2023, researchers in Finland observed how sleep-deprived people struggled to sort memories by relevance. The pruning failed, the shelves overflowed, and clarity dissolved. It is only in sleep, in this deep, slow rhythm, that thought can be sifted and reshaped. The brain is not quiet. It is not idle. It is editing. It is sculpting. It is weaving threads into something stronger. This is why sleep after learning improves performance. This is why sleep after trauma helps soften the edges. And this is why, as you sleep now, the brain is working with care, tending your memories, strengthening the roots of who you are. Not all growth is forward. Some of it is in letting go. And soon, the stillness of deep sleep will give way to something brighter, a storm, a flicker, a strange, beautiful fire we call dreams. Your body is still, your breath a rhythm now, soft and unbroken, and within you, a tide of chemicals rises and falls, not violent, not chaotic, but patient, precise, like drops of ink blooming into water. These are the hormones of the night, molecules that guide sleep's every motion. Unseen, but deeply felt, long before you closed your eyes, long before you even felt tired. A signal had already begun. It started in the pineal gland, a tiny structure buried deep in your brain, no larger than a grain of rice, but powerful. As the sun faded, as light slipped away from your eyes, this tiny gland began to pulse, and from it came a soft whisper of darkness, a chemical called melatonin. Melatonin is your brain's lullaby. It does not knock you unconscious. It does not force you to sleep. but it invites you, calls you in. It lowers your body temperature, slows your heartbeat, tells your organs, the world is quiet now. And when the light returns, melatonin fades, quietly, no protest, only rhythm. Beside it, another chemical begins to rise. GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid. It sounds complex, but its purpose is simple. Silence. GABA is the great inhibitor. It calms your neurons, prevents them from firing too fast, pulls the curtain closed on racing thoughts. Without GABA, your mind would not slow. It would spin and buzz and spark long after your body gave up. But thanks to GABA, the sparks dim, the storm softens, and you begin to float. There's another player too. Serotonin, often known as the feel-good chemical. But in sleep, its role is subtler. Serotonin helps regulate cycles. It shapes the balance between waking and sleeping. It helps construct dreams. And from serotonin, melatonin is born. One flows into the other. Day into night, sun into stars. There are others, of course, dozens of quiet messengers drifting through your bloodstream tonight. Adenosine, which builds while you're awake and makes you feel sleepy when it rises. Cortisol, which dips during sleep but begins to rise toward dawn, gently waking you without alarm. It is not a single switch. It is a chemical symphony. Each molecule a note, each release a breath, each effect a soft chord. In the background of your dreams, these hormones do not argue. They do not rush. They flow in sequence, in patterns shaped by sunlight and habit, by silence and safety. And right now, they are holding you. While you rest, they work. You do not need to control them. They know what to do. They've done this since the first time you fell asleep in your mother's arms. The chemistry of sleep is ancient, and tonight it is humming through your veins. In a moment, this quiet stage will shift. Your brain will spark again. Fast waves, rapid flickers, images stitched into stories. REM sleep is coming. The dreaming begins soon. But for now, stay in the stillness. Let the molecules carry you. Let the tide of night unfold. The stillness has been long, deep, heavy, your body resting like a stone in warm water, your mind silent as the stars. But now, a flicker, something, G-shifts, not loud, not sharp, but bright somehow. After nearly an hour in deep sleep, your brain is stirring again, not toward waking, but toward something stranger. This is REM sleep, rapid eye movement, a return to activity. Without consciousness, you are still asleep. Your muscles now deeply paralyzed, held still by design. But inside, your brain is alight. Oxygen use rises. Blood flow increases. Neurons fire in rapid bursts, almost as if you were awake. Almost more. If someone looked at your eyes now, beneath closed lids, they would see them darting, side to side, quick, restless, as if scanning a scene you cannot see, because you are. This is the theater of the mind, and the show has begun. Fragments of memory, echoes of sound, flickers of emotion. The brain begins to stitch them into dream, not like waking thoughts, not organized, not rational. Here logic bends, time loops, faces blur, rooms change shape. You walk and float and fly, and none of it feels strain until you wake. REM sleep is not random. It is deeply tied to emotion. The amygdala, that small almond-shaped part of the brain that lights up during fear and joy and grief, is now fully active. The prefrontal cortex, which governs logic and restraint, goes quiet, and so dreams flow wild, unjudged, unfiltered. This stage helps you process feelings you could not name by day. It explores problems you could not solve. It rehearses futures, replays pasts, invents strange, impossible worlds to hold real things. No one knows why REM dreams are so vivid, but they are, and the body remains still. A protective paralysis that prevents you from acting them out. Sometimes this barrier flickers, and a sleeper may twitch, murmur, shift, but mostly, REM is a storm beneath a calm sea. You dream here for minutes at first, then with each cycle, longer. In the final hours before dawn, you might dream for over half an hour straight. Entire lives may be lived in a single REM window, and you won't remember most of them. Only fragments, the ones that cling like mist at morning. But even the forgotten dreams do their work quietly, faithfully, night after night. This is not imagination. It is function. It is biology. It is art. And it is happening now. As you sleep, your brain is dreaming, not to entertain, but to restore, to balance, to reflect. Let the images come. Let them pass. You are safe in the storm. You are floating in REM. And soon, we will step deeper into the world of dreams. Not just what they are, but why we need them. Now, you are dreaming. Truly, deeply, softly. You may not know it. You may never remember it. But inside your brain, images are unfolding like smoke. Scenes without logic. Places that never existed. Voices that feel familiar, though no one ever spoke. This is the space where reality bends, where memory, emotion, and imagination begin to blend. Some dreams are wild, others tender, some repeat, some vanish the moment you wake. But all of them, each one, is shaped by you, not the conscious you, but the one buried deeper, the emotional self, the quiet witness who saw everything today and said nothing aloud. Dreams are not chaos. They are maps, drawn in symbols, painted in motion, wrapped in story, a hallway that loops, a staircase that never ends, a knock on the door with no one behind it. Your brain takes the raw material of life and turns it into theater, not for amusement, but for meaning. The emotional centers of the brain are wide awake now. The amygdala, the hippocampus, the old feeling parts that remember sadness and love and fear. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, that logical planner, is mostly silent, which means the dreams don't need to make sense. They don't follow time. They don't need a plot. They follow feeling. That's why you might dream of someone you haven't seen in years. Why a single word can open a flood. Why dreams can feel more real than life itself. And yet, they're not meant to last. Most dreams are forgotten within seconds of waking. Only the strange ones stay. The ones wrapped in emotion. The ones that stir you, even if you can't say why. There are theories, so many theories, that dreams help us rehearse threats, that they soothe emotional pain, that they strengthen memories, that they're just static, neural noise, without meaning. But maybe they are all of these, and more. A mirror, a message, a way to make sense of the things we can't speak. Even animals dream. Dogs twitch in their sleep. Rats rerun their maze paths. Octopuses shift colors in their slumber, perhaps dreaming in skin and ink. Dreaming is old, older than language, older than thought, and though we do not fully understand it, we return to it, night after night, as if our souls need the darkness to speak. Let your dreams unfold. Even now, your brain is creating a world just for you. It may not make sense. It doesn't need to. Just drift. Just breathe. Let the strange beauty rise and fall. And soon, we will explore why your brain chooses the feelings it does. Why some dreams carry sorrow and others joy. The emotional brain is still awake, and it has much to say. Deep inside your brain, beneath the folds and quiet rivers, sits a shape no larger than an almond. The amygdala. It is old, ancient even, a part of the brain that existed long before speech, before civilization, before the stars had names. And it does not speak in words. It speaks in feeling. Fear, joy, anger, love. During the day, you might not even notice it. Your conscious mind holds the reins. Logic, reason, decision. But at night, as dreams begin, the amygdala awakens, fully, brilliantly, like a red ember in a sea of ash. It lights up, even as the rest of the brain grows still. And it begins its quiet work, sorting emotions, replaying moments, untangling feelings too complex to face by daylight. This is one of the reasons dreams feel so intense, because they are painted in emotion, not fact. You dream of being chased, not because something is hunting you, but because something inside still holds tension. You dream of someone lost, because their absence echoes louder at night. And sometimes you dream of strange joy, pure, unexpected, like sunlight on closed eyes. Your brain is not punishing you. It is trying to help. The amygdala stores emotional memory, not just what happened, but how it felt. And during REM sleep, it begins to loosen that grip, to soften the charge, to reduce the sharpness of things. This is why dreams often blend grief with absurdity, why nightmares can turn into flights, why sorrow may wear the mask of a bird, a house, a forgotten song. The amygdala doesn't care for realism. It cares for relief. In 2024, a team of neuroscientists in Kyoto found that REM sleep plays a vital role in emotional regulation. People who were deprived of it felt more reactive, less stable, more likely to carry yesterday's pain into tomorrow. But those who slept, those who dreamed, processed their emotions more gently, quietly, without even knowing it. It's not just memory being rewired. It's feeling being metabolized, like breath in the lungs, like warmth in the chest. Some traumas take longer. Some are too deep to be washed in a single night. But still, your brain tries. Night after night, it sends the dream. It opens the door. It paints the symbol. And it says, "This mattered. Let me hold it with you a while." This is healing, not with scalpels or words, but with silence and color and metaphor. So if your dreams feel strange, let them. They're not meant to be understood. They're meant to be felt. Even now, your emotional brain is working. Not loudly, not perfectly, but faithfully. Soon, we'll drift into the deeper architecture of dreaming, to the parts of the brain that decide how your dreams are built, and why logic steps aside. When sleep begins, something curious happens when we dream. Time bends, places shift, stories dissolve. You might find yourself walking through a childhood home that now floats in the sky. You might speak with someone long gone and never question how. There are no rules here. And that is by design. Because while one part of your brain is fully alive, stirring with emotion, replaying memories, spinning symbols into dream, another part has quietly fallen asleep. The prefrontal cortex. This is the seat of reason, judgment, decision-making. The part of your mind that says, "That's impossible. That's not real." During waking hours, it helps you navigate life. It gives you boundaries, structure, self-control. But during REM sleep, this part of the brain goes quiet, dim, almost silent. The guard steps away from the gate, and in that silence, the dream becomes free. Free to shift, free to dissolve, free to break every rule you ever thought was real. That's why in dreams, you rarely question anything. You can breathe underwater, fall from the sky, meet yourself as a stranger, and it feels normal, believable, because the part of you that might object has stepped aside, and in its absence, the story unfolds without resistance. Researchers have studied this pattern for years. In brain scans, they see that the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, a key region for planning and logic, goes dark during REM. It's not broken. It's not failing. It's resting, giving the emotional brain space to explore without interruption. Sometimes this leads to chaos, dreams that tumble and scatter. But sometimes it leads to revelation, a problem solved in a dream, a painting imagined in sleep, a connection made between things that logic could never link. This is one reason why dreaming can feel so creative, so strange and yet meaningful. Because the rational walls have softened, the paths are open, and the brain, freed from structure, wanders, not lost, just unbound. And in this wandering, something new is born. Perhaps not something to explain, but something to feel. Your prefrontal cortex will wake again. It always does. But for now, it is quiet, and your dream may go wherever it pleases. You might wake and laugh at how absurd it was. You might forget it entirely, or you might carry it with you, like a scent that lingers, a memory that never quite belonged to daylight. Let it wander. Let it shape itself. You are still safe, still sleeping, still dreaming, and soon we will follow the rhythm of the night as it cycles, loops, begins again. Sleep is not one long line. It is a spiral, and we are turning with it now. Sleep is not a single descent into darkness. It is not a bottomless well. It is a cycle, a soft spiral, turning and returning, night after night, loop after loop. Even now, your body is moving through it, not physically, but rhythmically, in patterns deeper than thought. Each sleep cycle lasts about 90 minutes, and within that time, your brain travels through all the stages we've explored. First, the gentle fall, stage 1, where you hover just below waking. Then the softening, stage 2, where spindles dance and memories begin to settle. Next, the stillness, stage 3, where delta waves roll slow and the glymphatic river runs clear. And finally, REM, where your dreams take shape and emotion unfolds itself like fabric in the dark. Then the spiral resets. You rise again, from REM to light sleep. Sometimes you wake, just for a breath, not enough to notice, and then down you go again, back through the stages, again and again, through the night, 4 to 6 cycles, in a full night's sleep. But they are not all the same. In the early part of the night, your brain favors deep sleep, long stretches of stage 3, the body's repair time, the cleansing, the sorting. Later, toward morning, the balance shifts, the cycles grow lighter, REM becomes longer, deeper, more vivid. By dawn, you may be dreaming for 30 or 40 minutes in a single REM phase. This rhythm is not random. It is timed, coordinated, an internal dance, choreographed by your circadian clock. That clock lives in your brain, in a cluster of cells called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. It listens to light, to habit, to silence. It whispers to your hormones, to your neurons, to your breath. It says, now is time for sleep. Now is time for waking. And within that larger rhythm, your brain spins smaller spirals, cycle within cycle, loop within loop. Even in dreams, you may feel it, repeating scenes, familiar paths, a sense of movement that doesn't end, but folds back onto itself. This is how sleep restores you, not in one great sweep, but in layers, rounds, passes of a brush across canvas, again and again, until the picture is whole. And right now, your brain is still painting, still circling, still spiraling downward and upward and inward. Let it continue. You are not stuck. You are not drifting aimlessly. You are flowing through the ancient rhythm that has guided every night of every life since long before memory. In the next segment, we'll explore what happens when this rhythm falters, when the cycle slips, when the door to REM swings open, while the body stays still. A strange moment, a stuck moment, sleep paralysis. But for now, you are still moving, still spiraling, and sleep holds you gently in its turning hands. There is a moment, strange and delicate, where the mind begins to wake, before the body follows. A pause, a breath caught in the space between. You open your eyes. You see the ceiling. You feel the pillow beneath your cheek. But you cannot move. This is not a dream. And yet, it is not quite waking either. This is sleep paralysis. It happens when your body is still locked in REM's protective stillness, but your mind has started to rise. In REM sleep, your muscles are gently paralyzed. This is natural, a safeguard, so you don't act out your dreams. It's called REM atonia, and it keeps you safe, held, still. But sometimes, just sometimes, your consciousness stirs too soon. The eyes open, awareness returns, but the body stays behind. You try to move a hand. Nothing. Try to call out. No sound. A weight pressing down. A stillness too complete. It can feel frightening, alien, even suffocating. But it is brief, harmless, a side effect of an ancient mechanism, doing its job too well. Still, in that moment, the mind searches for meaning, and dreams leak in through the cracks. You might see shadows, hear whispers, feel a presence. This is the borderland, where dream logic spills into the waking world. Across centuries, people have given it names. In Japan, they call it kanashibari, bound in metal. In Scandinavia, they speak of the mare, a spirit that sits on the chest. And stay, ls breath. In medieval Europe, it became a demon, a punishment, a warning. But it is none of these. It is not evil. It is not possession. It is simply the brain, waking out of order, REM without release, consciousness without command. Usually it ends within seconds. A flicker of breaths, a blink, and suddenly your body remembers. You move, you rise, the spell breaks. There is no damage, no danger, only a strange memory of being stuck in your own skin. It happens more often when sleep is fragmented, when you are overtired, or when dreams run too close to the surface. But it is rare and temporary, and tonight you are safe. No paralysis, only rest. Your body and mind are still dancing in rhythm, still deep in the gentle spiral, still aligned. And if you've ever felt that stillness, that weight, that frozen breath, know that it was only your brain protecting you, just a moment too long. Even the glitches of sleep are made of care. Now let go again. You are not stuck. You are drifting. And soon, we will enter a darker corridor, not of paralysis, but of sleep gone awry. A world where the cycles break, the rhythms falter, and sleep begins to slip through the fingers. We'll speak of disorders of the night and how the brain tries to cope when rest refuses to come. Not every night is peaceful. Not every mind finds its rhythm. For some, sleep is not a gentle spiral, but a maze, a passage with no door, a descent without rest. The body lies down, the world goes quiet, but the mind stays lit, busy, restless, waiting. This is insomnia, not just the absence of sleep, but the presence of wakefulness, where silence should be. It is the hum of thoughts that won't still, the flicker of anxieties that stretch into dawn, the clock ticking louder with each passing hour. The brain wants to sleep, but something inside resists. Sometimes it's stress, a weight the body forgets, but the mind still holds. Sometimes it's chemical, too little melatonin, too much cortisol, a nervous system that won't unclench. And sometimes there is no clear reason, only wakefulness, wrapped in silence. But insomnia is not the only visitor. In the realm of night, there are other disruptions, stranger ones that come from deep within. There are the parasomnias, those mysterious acts of sleeping without knowing, sleepwalking, a body rising in the dark, guided by no conscious hand, eyes open, steps taken, but no awareness inside, sleep talking, murmured conversations with no listener, words half-formed, drifting between dream and air, night terrors, sudden cries, sitting bolt upright, the heart racing, but no memory of why. These are not dreams. They do not unfold in REM. They happen earliest, in deep sleep, when the brain forgets to keep the body still. They are rare in adults, more common in children, and almost always harmless, fleeting, foggy by morning. And yet, for those who live with them, the night becomes uncertain, a place where mystery slips in. There are other disorders too. Narcolepsy, where sleep comes suddenly, without warning, a collapse into REM, mid-sentence, mid-thought, mid-life, a strange flood of dreaming and paralysis into waking hours, and REM behavior disorder, where the brain forgets to keep the muscles still, dreams acted out, movements that mirror what should remain only imagined. And through it all, the brain is trying, always trying to sleep, trying to heal, trying to find the ancient rhythm again. Even in disorder, the system holds. It bends, stretches, looks for balance. And for many, these moments pass. They soften with time, with care, with consistency. Tonight, you may think of those who walk their nights differently, who lie awake, who drift and return, who dream in jagged fragments. They are not broken, only human, only tired, only waiting for the quiet to return. And for you, right now, the quiet is here. Your cycles continue. Your breath is steady. Your brain still floating. Let it carry you onward. Because soon, we'll explore what happens when sleep is lost for too long. Not just for a night, but over time, when the brain begins to forget how to rest. Sleep is gentle, but it is not optional. It is not a luxury, not a bonus, not something to borrow from when the days feel too full. It is a need, a foundation woven into the design of every cell you carry. And when it's missing, the brain begins to change. Slowly, then all at once. Even a single night without enough sleep can ripple through your mind like a soft wave turning sharp. Your memory dulls. The words don't come as easily. Emotions swing wider, as if unanchored. A task you did yesterday with ease feels heavy today. This is not weakness. This is biology. Sleep deprivation reduces the brain's ability to form and retrieve memories. The hippocampus, that seahorse-shaped memory keeper, loses efficiency. Instead of writing things down in careful ink, the brain uses chalk. On a wet board, thoughts blur, concentration slips. Even more subtle, the amygdala grows louder. It responds more intensely to emotional cues. Fear, frustration, sadness all feel closer to the surface. And the prefrontal cortex, your calming guide, struggles to keep up. It's like removing the brakes from a car already going too fast. Over time, with days or weeks of poor sleep, the effects deepen. The body becomes inflamed. The immune system weakens. But the brain begins to shrink. Not metaphorically, literally. MRI scans show that chronic sleep deprivation is linked to loss of brain volume, especially in regions tied to attention, problem solving, and language. The mind becomes foggy, but underneath, the structure itself is changing. Even the glymphatic system, that quiet river that washes the brain, cannot flow properly without deep sleep. Waste builds up. Proteins like beta amyloid accumulate. And over time, the risk of neurodegenerative disease grows. Studies in 2023 continued to draw the connection between disrupted sleep and long-term cognitive decline. The brain cannot clear itself. While it's awake, it needs the darkness, the slowness, the letting go. And yet, so many fight it. Screens glowing in the night, deadlines that stretch into early hours, stimulants by day, restlessness by night. The culture of productivity often forgets that the mind is not a machine. It is a garden. It needs time to lie fallow, to grow unseen. But there is hope. Even after sleep has been lost, rest can restore. The brain is resilient, neuroplastic, capable of repair, if given what it needs. One good night, then another, then another. The fog begins to lift. The tides resume. The circuits light again, with quiet electricity. So if you've been tired lately, not just physically, but in the deep, soul-soft way, know that sleep is not far. It's waiting, always. And tonight, your brain is remembering how to rest. Let it. No guilt, no resistance, just rhythm, just trust. And soon, as we drift deeper, we'll explore what happens over years, not just to energy, but to identity, to who we are. When sleep becomes a stranger for too long, there are seasons of life when sleep slips away quietly, not all at once, not in a storm, but gradually, like tide pulling back. Inch by inch, you stay up a little later, wake a little earlier, tell yourself you'll catch up soon. But the brain remembers, the body remembers, and over time, the cost becomes harder to ignore. This is chronic sleep deprivation. Not one restless night, but many, stacked like stones, on a fragile foundation. And beneath that weight, the brain begins to change, not just in how it feels, but in how it's built. Long-term lack of sleep can lead to brain shrinkage. The volume of gray matter, the part responsible for memory, attention, decision-making, begins to decline. In scans, you can see the difference. Thinner cortical layers, wider ventricles, a slow erosion of mental landscape. The prefrontal cortex, the seat of reason, focus, and self-control, is especially vulnerable. As its volume decreases, so does your ability to manage impulse, to regulate emotion, to stay anchored. Sleep doesn't just support thinking, it protects identity. Even the hippocampus, that quiet librarian of memory, begins to shrink. Memories fade faster. New ones are harder to form. Names, faces, facts, they slip through. And in the background, the glymphatic system slows, waste builds, beta amyloid accumulates. This is why chronic poor sleep is now considered a risk factor for Alzheimer's disease and other forms of cognitive decline. In a study from 2024, researchers tracked over 6,000 people for nearly a decade. Those who averaged less than 6 hours of sleep per night were significantly more likely to show signs of neurological aging. Not just forgetfulness, but changes in behavior, mood swings, emotional numbness. Because the emotional brain, the limbic system, also frays under pressure. Without enough sleep, the amygdala fires too easily. Fear becomes louder. Anger comes faster. Joy less frequent. You are not just tired. You are disconnected from yourself. And yet, this is not a death sentence. The brain is not so fragile. It can be coaxed back, healed, rewound. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to adapt and rewire, doesn't end in childhood. It stays with us, always waiting. And sleep is one of its greatest tools. Even after years of poor rest, consistent, gentle sleep can begin to restore what was lost. Cognitive function improves, mood stabilizes, brain volume, in some cases, partially rebounds. You are not broken. You are tired, and you are healing. Tonight, your neurons are firing in slow rhythm. Your breath is steady. Your mind, once scattered, is beginning to mend. Let it. The past cannot be undone, but the brain only ever lives in the now. And right now, you are sleeping, and soon We'll rise together into morning, into the light, where sleep begins to end, and the brain opens its eyes again. Morning doesn't come all at once. It arrives in layers. A quiet lifting, a softening of shadow. Even before your eyes open, your body knows. The brain begins to shift. Slowly, delicately, as if turning a dial from silence to song. The first signal is chemical. Cortisol, the hormone often blamed for stress, has another role. It is the wake-up messenger. While melatonin fades like mist at dawn, cortisol rises, not in a jolt, but in a steady upward climb. It tells your body, light is near, energy will be needed. Prepare. This natural rhythm is called the cortisol awakening response, and it peaks about 30 to 45 minutes after waking. If your sleep was deep and full, cortisol comes with clarity, focus, a quiet sense of readiness. If sleep was fragmented, its rise can feel sharper, more like a crash of light than a dawn. But either way, the brain responds. It begins to re-engage. Neurons fire more quickly. Blood flow shifts from inner structures to the outer cortex, where logic, language, and motion begin again. The reticular activating system, a network that runs like a vine through your brain stem, sparks awake. It's your inner spotlight, the circuit that pulls your attention from dreams back into the room. You may stretch, blink, sigh, and slowly your senses return. The touch of the blanket, the faint scent of morning, the pulse behind your eyes, the memory of a dream already fading. Not everything comes back at once. Some thoughts lag. Some names wait behind doors you haven't opened yet. But the architecture is rising. The towers of thought are building themselves again. Sleep is not a void. It is a reconstruction, a rebalancing, and waking is its quiet reveal. Even the muscles begin to loosen. That gentle paralysis from REM. It melts, like wax returning to warmth. You shift under the covers. You breathe more fully, and the body resumes its rhythm. In this transition, the brain still carries echoes of sleep. It remembers the dream, the feeling, the imagery that now flickers just beyond reach. Some call it sleep inertia, that groggy, slow phase between rest and alertness. It's not failure. It's a threshold, a necessary pause before re-entering the world. And if the night was kind, this moment can feel sacred, like standing at the edge of a quiet lake. Before the wind begins, let it linger, even now, as your breath deepens and your heart steadies. The final gifts of sleep are settling into place. Your brain has repaired, washed, rewired, and dreamed. And now, it wakes, not suddenly, but like a flower, opening to morning. In the next segment, we will ask the simplest most mysterious question of all. Why do we sleep at all? Not just the how, not just the what, but the why. A question still unanswered, still unfolding, and quietly essential. Why do we sleep? It seems like such a simple question. And yet, after centuries of thought, decades of science, and billions of nights, we still don't fully know. We know how we sleep. We know the cycles, the hormones, the dreams, the chemistry of silence. We know what happens when sleep is lost, the cost, the unraveling. But the why, the core reason we surrender to stillness every night, remains wrapped in mystery. Sleep makes us vulnerable, unmoving, unaware. In the wild, it would seem dangerous to lie down, close your eyes, and drift beyond control. So why would nature design it this way? Why would every species on Earth, from insects to elephants, need to go dark? One theory says, we sleep to save energy, to lower the lights, and rest the systems. Another says, we sleep to store memories, to replay and reorganize what the day gave us. A third suggests, we sleep to repair the body, to trigger healing, to fight inflammation. All of these may be true. None of them feel complete, because sleep is more than maintenance, more than memory. It is a return, a pattern older than thought. Before we were human, we slept. Before language, before fire, before names, even jellyfish sleep. Creatures without brains, without dreams, still follow the rhythm. Resting, rising, repeating. Sleep is not added on. It is embedded in every heartbeat, in every living cell. Recent studies in 2025 have begun to explore a deeper layer. The idea that sleep may be essential for consciousness itself, not just a break from awareness, but a necessary shadow that gives shape to our waking life. Without sleep, consciousness begins to fragment. Thoughts drift apart like ash. Memories blur. And something within us, something steady, begins to loosen. Maybe sleep is what allows us to be, to remember, to feel, to stay whole. And perhaps dreams are the language of that becoming. Not logical, not linear, but soft metaphors, symbols made of feeling, stories stitched together by rhythm, not reason. There may never be a perfect answer, not one we can measure, not one we can hold. But maybe sleep does not need to be explained, to be sacred. Maybe it is enough to lie down, let go, and trust that something ancient, older than thought, older than light, will carry us. Because every night you return to it, and every morning you rise again, not quite the same, but not lost. Sleep is not an absence. It is a presence, a quiet clearing in time, where the body repairs and the mind begins again. And tonight, you are part of that mystery, part of that rhythm, resting, resetting, becoming. And now, we come to the final chapter, the last descent, the slow closing, a reflection, not just on sleep, but on what it means to surrender, to allow yourself to be held by something you don't need to control. Let's drift there together. Some dreams feel like stories, some like puzzles, and some feel like memory. A place you haven't visited in years. A voice you thought you'd forgotten. A hallway that no longer exists, but returns, perfectly intact, in sleep. This is not coincidence. This is your brain, reaching backward, carefully, quietly, during sleep, especially REM. Your brain doesn't just create new stories. It revisits old ones, past experiences, personal memories, moments that left a mark. Some memories rise whole. A scene from childhood, a laugh, a window view from another time. Others return changed, abstracted, shifted, worn into metaphor. You may not recognize them, but your emotional brain does. Because every night, your mind moves through autobiographical memory, the personal archive of your life. It selects old fragments and brings them forward, not to relive, but to reprocess, to soften the hard edges, to recategorize, to understand something it didn't know how to understand. The first time, scientists have found that the medial prefrontal cortex and hippocampus light up in tandem during memory-linked dreams, as if one part of you is telling the story and the other is listening. And when the dream ends, that memory may rest differently. It might sting less, or shine more clearly, or simply lose its hold. This too is sleep's quiet gift, not to erase, but to reframe, to whisper, "Here, let me hold this now." You don't have to carry it the same way. Even traumatic memories can be softened in sleep, not deleted, but dulled, processed with care, away from the sharpness of daylight. And some dreams are tender. Someone you loved returns for a moment, not as a ghost, but as a pattern of feeling and thought, stitched together by the sleeping mind. You might wake with a sense of peace, or loss, or wonder, but always you wake changed, not because the past was rewritten, but because your brain revisited it on its own terms. This is not regression. This is healing. Sleep does not just help us remember. It helps us understand what memory means. And tonight, that understanding is unfolding quietly beneath your skin. Let memory flow like water through the folds of dream. And soon, we'll follow memory's opposite. Not what we remember, but what we forget. The things sleep lets dissolve. And why forgetting can be a kindness Not everything stays. Not every face, every word, every passing thought. Some things are forgotten. Softly, deliberately, like footprints smoothed by tide. And that, too, is part of sleep's design. Because sleep is not only for remembering, it is also for letting go. Every day, your brain collects thousands of sensations, fleeting impressions, information you didn't even notice. A sentence overheard, the color of a stranger's jacket, the shape of a shadow you didn't mean to memorize. If your brain kept all of it, if it wrote down every moment, you would drown in thought, lost in clutter, paralyzed by detail. So it chooses. During sleep, especially in light and deep NREM, your brain sorts what to keep and what to erase. The process is quiet, invisible, but it is happening even now. Synapses that were active today are gently pruned, weakened, released. This is called synaptic downscaling, a recalibration, like dimming a crowded field of stars, so that only the most luminous remain. It happens mostly in the neocortex, where memories are stored, where thought is shaped. The brain quietly asks, did we need this? Will we use it again? Is this worth keeping? And if not, it fades. Not violently, not cruelly, just gently, like mist burning off in morning light. This forgetting is not failure. It is function. It protects you, keeps you light, keeps you whole. Because memory is not about total recall. It's about meaning, clarity, making space for what matters. There's a kind of grace in that, a wisdom. And yet, sometimes the brain makes strange choices. A dream may preserve something you thought you'd lost, while your waking mind lets go of things you tried to hold. It isn't always fair, but it is always faithful. Faithful to balance, to clarity, to motion. Sleep is the mind's editor, the one who chooses which words stay in the story and which ones vanish between pages. Even now, your brain may be erasing a detail from this morning, a number you no longer need, a phrase you whispered and forgot. Let it. Let the forgetting happen. You do not need to carry everything. Not every feeling needs a shelf. Not every thought deserves a door. What stays will shape you. What leaves will lighten you. And in the soft rhythm of tonight's sleep, your brain is becoming exactly what it needs to be. In the next segment, we'll visit the body again, not the mind, to follow the rhythms of sleep through the heart, lungs, and breath. Because while the brain dreams, the body too is listening. While the brain drifts through dreams, the body does not disappear. It slows, it shifts, it listens, and in its stillness, it heals. Sleep is not just for the mind. It is for the whole self. The chest, the belly, the blood, the breath. Even now, as your thoughts loosen and float away, your body is working gently beneath you. The heart, for one, beats differently during sleep. Slower, more regular, like a soft drum in another room. In deep sleep, the heart rate drops. The parasympathetic nervous system, the system of rest and recovery, takes control. Blood vessels relax. Blood pressure lowers. Inflammation begins to ease. The heart is no longer bracing against the day. It is pulsing with purpose, repairing its own rhythms, rehearsing quiet. And the lungs, they too find stillness. Your breathing slows, becomes shallow, more predictable, no longer following speech or movement, only following need. In REM sleep, it may grow more irregular again, a flutter, a catch, to match the chaos of dreaming. But in non-REM, it is oceanic, a wave in, a wave out, over and over again. This rhythm is more than just function. It's communication, because the lungs speak to the brain, and the brain listens. Recent studies suggest that the phrenic nerve, which controls the diaphragm, feeds subtle information back to the mind, like a tide reporting to the moon. Even the gut is still active. It does not sleep, not fully. The process of digestion continues, but differently, more slowly, with fewer demands. The microbiome, the invisible world of microbes in your intestines, follows its own circadian rhythm. Some bacteria rise at night, others rest. They too have clocks, and they too are affected by the timing of your rest. When you sleep well, your gut thrives. When you don't, its balance begins to tilt. The liver, the kidneys, the skin, all repair themselves more deeply. When you are at rest, growth hormone pulses through the body. Proteins are rebuilt. Muscles knit. Cells replace themselves with astonishing quiet. And beneath all of it, your body temperature drops by almost a full degree. This helps preserve energy, but it also helps signal you are safe now. You can let go. And so, the sleeping body becomes a sanctuary, a landscape of slow tides and gentle repair. It doesn't ask for attention. It doesn't make a sound, but it is with you through every dream, through every breath, through every hour of the night. In the next segment, we'll explore what sets the rhythm of it all. The circadian clock, your body's inner timekeeper. The light within the dark. There is a clock inside you, not made of gears, not ticking, but turning, steadily, silently, a rhythm set not by hours, but by light, by darkness, by repetition. This is your circadian rhythm, a cycle that governs nearly everything you are. Wake and sleep, hunger and hormones, mood, temperature, even the timing of your dreams. Every living being, From birds to trees, to the single-celled algae floating in seawater, carries a clock like this. Something deep and old inside your brain, in a structure no larger than a grain of rice, sits the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the SCN, a small cluster of neurons tucked within the hypothalamus. But don't let its size fool you. This is your master timekeeper, your sunstone, your inner dusk and dawn. Each morning, when light reaches your eyes, even through closed lids, it sends a signal to the SCN. It is morning. Begin again. And the SCN responds. It adjusts your hormones. It raises your body temperature. It tells the pineal gland to stop releasing melatonin. Just like that, the brain begins to stir. The body returns. The day begins. And when night falls, when light dims again, the SCN reverses its message. Melatonin rises. Alertness softens. Heat retreats. The mind begins to drift. But this lock does more than guide sleep. It synchronizes nearly every cell in your body. Each organ, each tissue, each microscopic part of you has its own clock genes, its own rhythm, and the SCN keeps them all in time, like a conductor raising a baton in the dark. When the rhythm is steady, you feel it. You wake with ease. You fall asleep without effort. You think clearly, digest smoothly, heal more quickly. But when the rhythm is disrupted by late-night screens, by shifting work hours, by travel across time zones, you feel it break. Jet lag, insomnia, mood swings, brain fog, because the body no longer knows when to rise and when to fall. The sun is your compass, and when you stray too far from it, your inner clock stutters. But the rhythm is forgiving, even after days of disarray. A few nights of deep sleep, paired with morning light, evening stillness, and consistent timing, can begin to restore the pulse. Your body remembers. It always wants to return. Even now, as you sleep, your circadian clock is ticking, in quiet harmony with the dark. And in the next segment, we'll leave the human world for a moment and drift into the sleep of other creatures, the whales, the birds, the ants, because sleep, in all its strange forms, belongs to them too. Sleep is not just human. It is not just your room, your breath, your drifting mind. It is everywhere. In wings, in fins, in leaves that close at night, all across the living world. Sleep takes shape, sometimes strange, sometimes beautiful, always necessary. Take the whale, floating through dark oceans, its body vast, its mind ancient. Whales sleep with one half of the brain at a time. Unihemispheric sleep. They call it. One hemisphere rests, the other stays alert. To breathe, to rise, to survive. Then they switch, back and forth, half asleep, half awake, a compromise with the sea. Dolphins do the same. They sleep in motion, cradled by the waves, never fully gone, but never fully here. And the albatross, wings stretched across the wind, can sleep while gliding. Tiny REM episodes mid-flight, eyes half shut, over endless ocean. Otters hold hands when they sleep, so they won't drift apart, floating in kelp beds, wrapped in quiet. Some fish bury themselves in sand. Some insects fold inward. Even bees take tiny naps in the shadows of petals. And then there are the birds, who adjust their sleep, depending on the sky. Migrating songbirds can fly for days, catching moments of sleep between wing beats. Even in the high, cold air, they find rest. Elephants, with their vast, thunder-soft bodies, sleep less than almost any mammal, sometimes only 2 hours a night. But when they do sleep, they lie down and dream deeply. And the octopus, oh, the octopus dreams in color. In its sleep, its skin flashes, waves of shifting pigment, as if the dream is not just in the mind, but written across the body. Some believe it may be dreaming of camouflage, of memory, of past hunts or moments unknown. And still, we don't fully understand. Sleep comes in cycles, phases, bursts, but no matter the form, no matter the species, the need remains. Even the smallest ant shows rest-wake patterns. Even fruit flies have been observed entering a sleep-like state. Brains slowing, movements stilling. Sleep is not weakness. It is wisdom, woven through evolution. Like breath, like heartbeat, like instinct. It is not a flaw to need rest. It is what life does when it wants to last. So as you lie here tonight, remember, you are not alone in sleep. You drift beside elephants and whales and bees, all living things, suspended for a moment in the soft rhythm of rest. In the next segment, we'll return to the small things, to naps, blinks, and micro sleeps, because even the briefest pauses hold deep, secret power. Not all sleep comes in long stretches. Not all rest needs a full night. Sometimes, the brain finds peace in moments, tiny pauses, brief descents, a soft exhale between thoughts. These are naps, those gentle breaks in the day, when the body folds inward and the mind releases its grip. And they are powerful. Even 10 minutes can sharpen the edges of thought. Even 20 can soften the strain of a long morning. Science calls these ultradian rhythms shorter cycles of rest, woven into the fabric of wakefulness. Your body knows them. It asks for them. Around midday, your alertness naturally dips. You may feel heavy, distracted, slow. This is not laziness. It is rhythm. A nap taken then, even a light one, can improve memory, reaction time, emotional balance. In a 2024 study, just 20 minutes of napping was shown to boost problem-solving speed by nearly 40%. Longer naps, say an hour or more, can include deep sleep and even REM, but they carry the risk of sleep inertia, that heavy fog upon waking, when the brain is caught between cycles. So shorter naps, 15 to 30 minutes, are often more refreshing. A sip of rest, not a plunge. And then there are the smallest rests of all. Micro sleeps, moments that last just a few seconds, when the eyes remain open, but the brain flickers away. A blink becomes too long. A sentence is forgotten mid-thought. A pause swells into something softer. These can be dangerous, especially while driving, working, moving through the world. But in sleep-deprived minds, they happen unbidden. The brain forcing rest where it can. A brief rescue, a sudden reset. It reminds us, sleep is not optional. The body will find it if you do not give it. Even in ancient cultures, napping was honored. The siesta, the afternoon rest, was once sacred. Even great minds, Einstein, Da Vinci, Churchill, all napped, not out of indulgence, but necessity, to sharpen, to soften, to stay whole. Your brain does not need a perfect schedule. It needs consistency, but it also needs permission to pause, to breathe, to close its eyes for just a moment. So if you find yourself heavy midday, let go. Close your eyes. Let the world blur. Even 10 minutes can change the hour that follows. And in the next chapter, we'll explore why sleep feels harder to find in the modern world, how technology and light and glowing screens shape the chemistry of night. Once, nightfall meant stillness. Shadows stretched across stone. Candles flickered. The world quieted. But now, night glows. It hums. It scrolls. Even as the sun fades, our rooms stay bright. Our eyes open longer than they should. This is the world of screens, of blue light, of glowing windows into everything, of infinite scrolling, in a moment made for slowing. And your brain, beautifully ancient, is confused. It does not know what a phone is, or a tablet, or a laptop lit with distant stars. What it knows is this: light means wakefulness, darkness means sleep. That's the rhythm it learned for thousands of years. From firelight, from moonlight, from the quiet turning of the earth. But now, you hold sunlight in your hands at midnight. You pour brightness into your eyes when the body is begging for night, and your brain listens. It stops producing melatonin. It waits. believing it is still day. The circadian rhythm, your body's inner clock, slips out of sync, just slightly, but enough to delay sleep, enough to dull dreams, enough to shift the cycles, until morning arrives, before rest has truly begun. In a 2023 study, people exposed to screens an hour before bed took longer to fall asleep, spent less time in deep sleep, and woke feeling less restored. The light was subtle, but the effect was not. It isn't only the light, though. It's the noise, the stimulation, the constant stream of stories, notifications, moving images. The brain cannot slow if it is always reaching. Even if your eyes are tired, your neurons are still lit, firing in fast patterns, matching the pace of the screen. You lie down, but your mind stands alert. So how do we return? How do we dim the glow and find the dark again? Softly, with intention, with care. You don't need to vanish from the world. Just step back, create distance, let light become warm again. Shift your screens to night mode. Use soft amber tones. Let the brightness fade with the day. And then, ritual, something consistent, predictable, gentle, a book, a bath, a quiet breath, in a darkened room. These signals tell the brain, the day is done. You may let go now. And if you wake at night, to a glowing rectangle beside you, try just once to reach for stillness instead. The world can wait. It always has. But your brain, your beautiful, tireless brain, needs quiet, needs shadow, needs space to dream. In the next segment, we'll drift away from screens and into something older. How ancient people understood sleep, in temples, in dreams, in myths that still whisper through the dark, long before science, before neurons, before words like REM or circadian. There was still sleep, and there were still dreams. And to the ancient world, these were not chemical. They were sacred. In the dark hours, something larger passed through. Messages, visions, visitations. Sleep was not absence. It was encounter. In ancient Greece, there were temples of sleep, Asclepia, places where people came, not to be cured by medicine, but by dreaming. They would lie down on stone beds, in cool, quiet chambers, fast, pray, wait, and then sleep. And in sleep, a god might appear, or a symbol, or a whisper wrapped in vision. They called it incubation, a dream meant to heal, not just the body, but the soul. Priests, called therapeutes, would interpret what you saw. A snake might mean renewal, a spring purification, a stairway return. These weren't hallucinations. They were doorways. And the dreamer was not passive. They were a seeker, In Egypt, dreams were seen as divine speech. Sages from the gods, from ancestors, from the stars. The Book of Dreams records images like crocodiles, boats, broken pots, each holding a secret meaning. To dream was to be touched by something unseen. In ancient China, dreams could travel between worlds, a reflection of balance, imbalance, harmony, or disease. A dream was part of diagnosis, of healing. In the indigenous cultures of Australia, sleep itself belonged to the dreamtime, not a state of rest, but a place before time, the eternal world, where ancestors walked and where the living touched the fabric of creation. To dream was to return there, to walk with the old stories and carry them back. In many traditions, from the Amazon to Tibet, dreams were not illusions. They were truth in a different language. They guided, warned, blessed, connected. You did not control them. You listened. You honored them in the mornings by remembering, writing, praying, changing. And though we now know how the brain behaves in sleep, the slow waves, the flickers of REM, the chemistry, the wonder remains, because no scan can fully explain why a dream moves us, why a symbol stays, why something imagined feels like something given. Perhaps ancient people knew something we forget too easily, that the science and the soul can live together, that even now, in our modern glowing world, sleep is still a passage, not just into rest, but into meaning. And in the next chapter, we'll begin to close, not with explanation, but with reverence, a final reflection on what sleep gives us every night without asking. Sleep is not a task. It is not something you earn, not something to conquer. It is a sanctuary, a quiet cathedral inside your body that opens its doors each night. Without question, you don't have to be ready, or perfect, or finished. You only have to arrive, to lie down, to breathe, and sleep will come to you, like rain to dry soil, even when your thoughts are loud, even when your body aches, even when the day did not go the way you hoped. Sleep is still there, patient, ancient, unchanged. It welcomes you, without judgment, without condition. And while you lie still, it works quietly, washing the mind, rewiring memories, balancing chemistry, soothing the nervous system, like fingers through tangled threads. This is not laziness, not weakness. This is repair, reconnection, rebirth. You close your eyes, and the world behind your eyelids begins to shift, not away from reality, but deeper into it. A kind of truth you can only feel when language has loosened. Sleep does not ask for effort. It asks for release. the willingness to let the body be held, to let the mind fall open, to let go of the grip on everything. And it answers you with silence, with rhythm, with deep, wordless care. If you've ever cried yourself to sleep, or laughed just before drifting off, you've felt it. The threshold, the soft undoing, the moment you are no longer holding on. Sleep catches you there and carries you inward. And when you wake, hours later, the world is a little softer, the self a little lighter. That's the gift. Sleep doesn't change who you are. It simply returns you to yourself, not the tired version, not the scattered one, but the one that breathes deeply, moves gently, sees clearly, the one that was always there, beneath the noise, beneath the doing. Sleep brings you back. And tomorrow, when you step into the morning light, you won't remember most of it. The waves, the dreams, the flickers of synapse and emotion. But they will be there, carried quietly within you, shaping the day ahead. In the final segment, we will say goodbye. Softly, slowly, with the same rhythm that brought you here. A final breath, a final note, a thank you to the night. You've made it to the end, or maybe the beginning, because sleep is both an ending and a return. Every night, your brain takes you in, tends to you, restores what was dimmed, releases what was heavy, and you don't have to do anything except trust. That is the wonder of it. We've spent this story inside the folds of the mind, its chemicals, its patterns, its dreams, its myth. We've watched memory repair itself, watched emotions settle, watched neurons dance in ancient, perfect rhythms. We've followed whales as they rest, monks as they dream, electrons as they shift in silence. And now, we return, not to answers, but to awe. Because for all we know, the scans, the graphs, the cycles and stages, there is still something sacred about sleep. It's not just what happens, it's how it feels. That first weightlessness, that slide into shadow, that hush that hums behind the eyes, before thought dissolves. It is not performance, not discipline. It is the one place where being is enough, where nothing is asked of you, and yet everything inside you is gently renewed. Sleep does not care who you were today. It only wants to carry you into the softness of now. So close your eyes, if they're not already closed. Breathe, not deeply, not perfectly, just however you are. And let sleep come, like it always does. Not with noise, but with stillness. Let the lights of thought fade. Let the sky behind your mind darken. Let the quiet grow. And if you're already drifting, somewhere between word and dream, you don't need to return. You can stay, float, wander. You are safe here. held in rhythm, wrapped in warmth, rooted in the body that loves you more than you know. This is the end of the story, but not the end of the rest. There is more waiting for you. In the next night, the next breath, the next dream. Thank you for listening, for resting, for letting your mind soften in the presence of science. This has been HypnoScience, where wonder sleeps, and sleep is wonder. Good night.